Growing up, I was always super excited to have kids. It was something that I was always looking forward to, super expectant for and hopeful for. And then finally, my wife and I found out that we were pregnant with our firstborn, a son. And I was so over the moon to have a son. You know, everything that goes along with having a boy. I was excited to wrestle with him, to get down and, rough and tumble. And that was literally, since the day we found out we were pregnant with my son Carter, that was all that was in my head and in my heart. I cannot wait to wrestle around with my boy and to do that kind of stuff. Well, it turns out that as soon as he got to be about 1.5, as soon as he was okay on his feet, I started wrestling with him, and I would just throw him around. I'd throw him on the bed. We'd jump around, and he didn't love it. In fact, he cried a lot. And anytime I would try to roughhouse with my son, he hated it. And it left me in this place where I was like, why is this happening to me? God, why have you punished me? And then at one point, my wife and I were in counseling, and we're talking to our counselor, and I'm telling him about my son. And our counselor said something just offhand that actually struck me right at the heart. And he said, well, like with children, you can't pull them up out of their world. You have to get down into theirs. So instead of pulling him up and out of what he's doing and into what you want to do and how you want to interact, because what do any kid want when they're just sitting on the floor playing with their toys? They want their parents to get down on the floor with them and to play with them. And so I was super convicted coming out of this counseling session. And I started to do that. I would get down on the floor with my son, and I would just crash cars into the wall for 3 hours because that's what he wanted to do. And over the next several months, our relationship blossomed because I think he recognized that I was interested in his world, and I wasn't just ripping him out of what he wanted to do, but I was coming down and joining him where he was at. We get this beautiful picture of this in the gospel shortly before Jesus' death. And in the book of Luke, chapter 22, they have this one last meal together. It's Jesus and the disciples. And at one point, Jesus breaks bread in his hands, and he's foreshadowing what he's about to do on the cross. And the disciples had no idea what he was talking about. But he says, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And he starts to foreshadow what was going to come on the cross. But what I love about this moment in Jesus' life is it truly drives home the point that God is not a father that only loves us on his terms. He loves us on our terms. That Jesus came to earth. He came to be among us and with us and died on a cross for us. He came to be with us. What do we learn from Jesus is that you can never love people on your terms, because love by its nature and definition is not selfish. And so for me to truly love somebody, I have to love them on their terms. I have to get up outside of myself to go love them. Sometimes the best way to love somebody is to get down on the floor with them, be with them where they're at, and love them the way that Jesus loved us.